August 10, 2019. A billionaire financier is found dead in his jail cell. He had connections to presidents, princes, and some of the world's most powerful people. His death was ruled a suicide, but the circumstances were so suspicious that even the official investigators raised questions. This is the story of Jeffrey Epstein, a case that exposed a dark underworld of wealth, power, and unanswered questions that continue to haunt us today. Jeffrey Epstein's rise to wealth remains one of the great mysteries of modern finance. He started as a teacher at an elite Manhattan school in the 1970s, despite having no college degree. Within a few years, he was working on Wall Street. By the 1980s, he claimed to manage money exclusively for billionaires, but the source of his vast fortune was never clear. What was clear were his connections. Epstein cultivated relationships with former President Bill Clinton, Prince Andrew of the British royal family, Donald Trump before his presidency, and countless other influential figures. He owned a private island in the Caribbean, a mansion in Manhattan, and traveled on a private jet that would later become infamous. But behind the wealth and power, federal prosecutors say he was operating something far darker. In 2005, police in Palm Beach, Florida, began investigating Epstein after parents reported that their teenage daughters had been recruited to his mansion. The investigation uncovered a disturbing pattern. According to court documents, dozens of girls, some as young as 14, were brought to Epstein's properties. The FBI joined the investigation, identifying over 30 potential victims. Federal prosecutors prepared charges that could have sent Epstein to prison for life, but then something extraordinary happened. In 2008, Epstein's lawyers negotiated a deal that shocked legal experts. Despite the federal evidence, Epstein pleaded guilty to just 2 state charges. The sentence? 13 months in county jail with work release privileges that allowed him to leave for 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. The deal was arranged by Alexander Acosta, then the U.S. Attorney for Southern Florida. Victims were not consulted, as required by law. They learned about the plea deal from the media. A federal judge later ruled the deal violated the Crime Victims' Rights Act. For more than a decade, Epstein lived freely despite the controversy. Then, in 2018, the Miami Herald published a groundbreaking investigation called Perversion of Justice. Reporter Julie Brown tracked down victims and exposed the details of the 2008 plea deal. Public outrage reignited. Federal prosecutors in New York took action. On July 6, 2019, FBI agents arrested Epstein at Teterboro Airport in New Jersey as he returned from Paris on his private jet. This time, the charges were federal: sex trafficking of minors. Prosecutors alleged that between 2002 and 2005, Epstein had created a network to recruit and abuse dozens of underage girls at his homes in Manhattan and Palm Beach. He was denied bail and held at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan. If convicted, he faced up to 45 years in prison. Prosecutors said more charges could follow. The powerful names in his circle waited nervously. Then, 36 days after his arrest, everything changed. August 10, 2019, 6:30 a.m. Guards found Jeffrey Epstein unresponsive in his cell. He was pronounced dead at a nearby hospital. The official cause of death: suicide by hanging. But the circumstances immediately raised questions. Epstein had been placed on suicide watch after a previous incident in July, but was removed from it just days before his death. The night he died, both guards assigned to check on him every 30 minutes had fallen asleep. Security cameras that should have recorded his cell malfunctioned. An autopsy conducted by New York City's medical examiner ruled the death a suicide.
However, a forensic pathologist hired by Epstein's family disputed this, noting that broken bones in Epstein's neck were more commonly seen in homicides than suicides. The FBI and Justice Department Inspector General launched investigations into the circumstances. Federal prosecutors emphasized that the criminal case ended with Epstein's death, but the investigation into possible co-conspirators would continue. Epstein's death didn't end the story. His longtime associate, British socialite Ghislaine Maxwell, was arrested in July 2020. Federal prosecutors accused her of recruiting and grooming underage girls for Epstein between 1994 and 2004. In December 2021, a jury convicted Maxwell on 5 of 6 counts, including sex trafficking of minors. She was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison. Meanwhile, civil lawsuits continued. Victims filed claims against Epstein's estate, which was valued at over $600 million. A compensation fund was established, and over 150 victims came forward. In 2022, Prince Andrew settled a civil lawsuit brought by Virginia Giafrante, who alleged she was trafficked to him when she was 17. Andrew denied all allegations, and the settlement included no admission of liability. Documents from various legal cases have been unsealed over time, revealing names of individuals who flew on Epstein's private jet or visited his properties. Being named in these documents does not indicate criminal activity, but the revelations damaged reputations and raised questions about what powerful people knew. Years after Epstein's death, fundamental questions remain unanswered. How did Epstein accumulate his wealth? Investigators have never fully explained the source of his fortune or identified all of his financial clients. Were there other co-conspirators? Federal prosecutors have stated that the investigation continues, but no additional arrests have been made. What's in the sealed documents? Thousands of pages from legal proceedings remain under seal, with ongoing court battles over their release. Will there be accountability? Victims and advocates continue to push for investigations into everyone involved in facilitating Epstein's crimes. The 2008 plea deal architect, Alexander Acosta, resigned as U.S. Labor Secretary in 2019 after renewed scrutiny. The FBI's handling of early reports about Epstein has been questioned, and the circumstances of his death in federal custody remain a source of debate. The Epstein case exposed how wealth and power can shield criminals for decades and raised disturbing questions about the systems meant to stop them. Jeffrey Epstein's story is not just about one man's crimes. It's about systemic failures, corrupted justice, and the protection that extreme wealth can buy. It's about the victims who were silenced, ignored, and betrayed by the very systems meant to protect them. And it's about questions that may never be fully answered. The mystery that shook the world continues because the full truth remains hidden in sealed documents, protected by powerful interests, and buried with a man who died before facing justice.